Mark 16, otherwise known as the Scar Light, manufactured by FN Herstal. Today's airsoft replica that we're going to be reviewing is manufactured by WE. The WE Scar is the open bolt version, and like most WE gas blowback rifles, it comes in a fairly simple cardboard box. Nothing really there to protect the gun inside, but it gets the job done. Everything is held in by zip ties. Inside, you'll get a fairly decent manual. You get the Mark 16 itself, and one standard 30-round Stanag style magazine. For those wondering, the gun is compatible with WE MSK magazines, though they do require a slight modification for them to work properly, which I'll go over later. Pulling the gun out of the box, initially it feels massive. Everything is solid and robust, nothing shakes or rattles, and this is partially due to the one-piece metal upper receiver. On the aluminum upper receiver, you do have some slight trade markings, though for a little bit extra money, you can get the FN Herstal license version. Everything on this gun is ambidextrous except for the bolt catch. The charging handle can be swapped to the opposite side of the receiver if you so wished. There are flip-up front and rear sights along the monolithic upper rail, and there's plenty of rail space on the sides and bottom. The gun does have a folding and 6-position retractable stock, and it does have 3 different positions on the cheek rest. The standard 30-round style Stanag magazine is a version 2, and thus is less prone to leaking. The PMag, on the other hand, is pretty much the same exact thing, though it does fit differently in the receiver and requires a couple layers of electrical tape underneath the magazine catch hole so that it seats properly. It's disassembly time. In order to disassemble this gun, the only tool you're going to need is a pin punch. So, you're going to start by removing the forward receiver pin. Now that the upper receiver is pulled away from the lower, you can see the standard WE trigger group. This is the same trigger group as the PDW if I'm not mistaken. There's a steel bolt catch, a steel full auto sear bar, and a steel full auto sear. Everything else is pot metal. There are 3 screws in the trigger group that should be kept tightened at all times in order for the gun to function. There are 2 on the valve striker plate, and there's 1 at the back of the trigger box which holds the entire trigger unit in the lower receiver. Breaking into the upper receiver, all you have to do is pull the stock up and away. You can then remove the recoil guide, slide the bolt carrier to the rear, pull out the charging handle, and you then have access to your bolt carrier. Now, looking at the bolt carrier, there are 4 roller bearings on top, which give a nice smooth cycling report to the gun when firing, and a very quick rate of fire. The bolt carrier is fairly light, but it is solid. The nozzle feels very solid as well. There's a very quick return to it, and there is a very nice seal between the nozzle and the hop-up rubber, which leads for better accuracy and a more stable FPS. Now, reassembling the gun, you can put the bolt carrier back in. You need to align the hole in the bolt carrier with the hole in the side of the receiver to pull the charging handle all the way forward. Once that's in, put the recoil guide rod back and slide the stock back on. Now, make sure the lower receiver is all the way to the rear and push your pin back in. Everything should line up properly, and as always, do a function check to make sure everything. Now, it's time to take the gun back out to the range. This time we're shooting from a seated position, so we're switching things up a little, but we're going to get a better representation of the accuracy for the rifle. Now, we're shooting at the 8-inch target 75 feet away, and the grouping is both semi and fully automatic. The grouping itself is pretty good, considering how much recoil this gun has. Now, showing off the rate of fire, sound, and recoil for the gun, it shoots pretty fast and has plenty of recoil, and it's got a very nice metallic clank when shooting.
Now onto my final thoughts of the gun. For the price you're paying, is extremely nice, and in my opinion is one of the Huey's nicest guessable rifles. If you take care of it, it will last you a very long time. Replacement parts are extremely cheap, so if you're looking for a GBBR SCAR, this is definitely the gun to look out for.